Thanks for joining me again. Today I will be talking about my first month of dental school. So some of you might be wondering, it's the summertime, why am I already in my first month of dental school? And just because each dental school has a different start time, and so the school I go to is Toro College of Dental Medicine, and they start at the beginning of July. So in this video I'll be getting into my class schedule as well as what the school has done during COVID to allow us to continue working on our hand skills, although we might not necessarily have the same schedule that we would have had if it had not been for the coronavirus. I'll also be weighing in on my opinion of dental school so far. I know it's only been a month, but I feel like my undergrad is still fairly fresh in my mind, and so I feel like this would be the best time to make a comparison with my undergrad. So to get started, I'll be talking about my schedule in dental school. Currently, the classes I'm taking are biochemistry, introduction to dentistry, dental anatomy and occlusion lecture and lab, growth development and aging, and ethics and professionalism. So according to Toro's website, this amounts to about 10 credit hours over the course of a month and a half, 2 months. So you can imagine in a full semester that would equate to about 20 credit hours. In order to accommodate this, there's a more accelerated class schedule. So I have biochemistry every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 11 a.m. I then have introduction to dentistry every Monday from 11 to 1, and dental anatomy and occlusion lecture from 2 to 3 on that same day. I then have growth development and aging from 11 to 1 on Wednesdays, followed by an hour break, and then ethics and professionalism in dentistry from 2 to 4. Now on top of this, I have the dental anatomy and occlusion lab, and in order to accommodate for the coronavirus, they have split us into 4 groups, and unfortunately because of this, we only meet once a week for 3 hours. Now, of course, I say only because in a normal setting, I believe that as a D1, you do go to lab more often than this. But luckily, they have set up other ways that we can work on our manual dexterity and start to learn the anatomy of the mouth. So as you can see, I'm in my scripts right now, and I actually just got done with the lab today. During this first semester, we're actually working on the maxillary central incisor. And so what that entails is taking this thing called a typodont. I have one here, and I have another one over here as well that I had in my undergrad. And you essentially get something like this where you need to build it up and restore it. Obviously, it doesn't look that great right now. It's because I restarted and I brought this home so that I could also study from this typodont. Now, when it comes to these classes, dental school is no joke. They are tough classes, and in an accelerated 1.5 month semester, it does get a little bit more complicated. But that being said, I don't feel like it hasn't been unbearable or unmanageable. Now again, it is accelerated, so I'm having 6 hours a week of biochemistry, which is a lot. And this also means that I've already had 1 exam last week for biochemistry, and I'm actually having another one this coming Wednesday. Now when it comes to the material, I do feel like it is a little bit more broad, meaning that they don't really require you to learn and memorize the nitty-gritty small things that they might have had you do in your undergraduate biochemistry class. I feel like there's still more material, but they cover more subjects and don't get too in-depth to the point where you get lost. Luckily, they are starting us off a little bit slower, so our introduction to dentistry class and our ethics and professionalism class are both pass-fail classes that are more heavily based off an attendance and a final exam. But that being said, there is still a lot of material between biochemistry and dental anatomy and occlusion. I mean, if you have had no experience, especially with the anatomy of the mouth, which you probably haven't in your undergrad, they do expect you to learn a lot of material in a small amount of time, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. I mean, again, I had my first round of exams, and I didn't feel like the dental anatomy and occlusion exam was too difficult. I felt like they were presenting the material well and prepared us well for those exams. The one class that makes sense but at the same time is a little confusing is our growth development and aging class, and that's because it is a 1 credit class, yet it appears that the amount of time you have to put into studying for that class exceeds the 3 hours per credit outside of class time, standard that the credit system has. I would say that, although I guess I'm not sure, that seems to be an expected of dental school, is that the credits aren't always reflective of the amount of time you'll spend in it. So be aware of that you might end up having a 1 credit class that before you get there you might think, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake, but in reality it's a tough class, so you have to take it seriously. Now moving on to my first semester with coronavirus. I mean, obviously I don't have much to compare it to since this is my first semester of dental school, but I do feel like it has been not too hard of a transition. I was a little worried that it was going to be tough since, it is already a transition to go into dental school, and then on top of that having to do everything online. Luckily it hasn't been too bad. I would say that you are looking at screens quite a bit each day, so if you have a blue light filter on your devices, to put it on, or else your eyes will be bloodshot by the end of the day. I would also say that it's hard to find study groups, but that being said, it's not impossible. Obviously I haven't put enough of an effort into looking for them, so I'm sure it would be possible if I did look harder, but again, it's not just as easy or natural to message people you've never really met, or you met for maybe a couple of minutes and ask them if they want to join a study group. So I feel like that is a little tough, but overall I don't feel like it's been too bad. Again, we were only spending about 3 hours a week in lab, which is a little bit of a bummer, but the school is trying to make it work the best so that we can still get the experience we need. As you can see if you follow me on my Instagram, we are assigned drawings when we learn certain teeth, and so those drawings help supplement those 3 hours of lab. Now obviously this might vary from state to state depending on what school you're attending and where they are in the process of reopening, but luckily in New York it seems like the biggest wave has passed and things are starting to reopen, and so hopefully this won't last too long, but I will say that it sounds like it will last at least through the fall semester. So it's kind of a bummer, but you can also look at it as the glass is half full instead of half empty. I don't have to get up super early to get to school, which is nice. I can also maybe miss classes that I wouldn't be able to miss before, not because I just miss them, but so that I can watch them later at 2 times speed. I'm also able to eat better and not have to worry about bringing food somewhere and hauling that around with me with my backpack. So I would say that there are some pros to what's going on. Again, it's just depending on how you look at it. So to recap, it's a busy semester. It's been tough, and we've already had some exams, and you're probably not going to see as much of the lab as you would like to, at least at the start of your D1 year if you're going in this year. But when compared to undergrad, I would say it's just as doable as undergrad, but it's not anything to put off until the last minute. It is a lot of material, and you cannot just cram like you might have in an undergrad class. You definitely need to learn your stuff as you go. So that's all I've got for you guys. If you have any specific questions, leave them down below and I'd be happy to answer them. Also, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification button, since I will be releasing more videos about my pre-dental experience as well as my D1, D2, D3, and D4 year as I go along in my dental school experience.